Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Welcome to this episode of Faith in Your Recovery. We're thrilled to have you with us today. We've got something that I believe is going to touch you deeply, and it's going to leave you with a lot to think about. As I sit here and talk with our guest, Kevin Oliver, that I'll introduce in just a moment, I realize some of the struggle he's dealt with, some of the pain he's been through, and is presently going through. If you've had a loved one that you've lost to addiction or tragedy, you're going to relate. You're even going to be glad you tuned in today. Once again, welcome, and welcome you, Kevin Oliver.
Thank you very much.
We're glad
to be here.
Thank you. We appreciate you being with us. Let's go back and talk about the Kevin of old. Introduce us to you before all the tragedy hit. And I know you had tragedy hit early in your life, like first grade.
Yeah.
But tell us about the younger Kevin and share some of that with us, please.
Sure. Well, my name's Kevin Oliver, here to try to open some eyes and help a little bit in everybody's future. When I was young, I had a lot of things that, impacted me. My mother got killed, unfortunately, by my stepdad to gun violence. So it's one of those eye-openers when I was really, really young.
How old were you, Kevin?
I was 5.
Okay.
I remember the whole day, from the getting up to getting ready, and my mom bringing me back to give me my kiss on my cheek and tell me she loved me. And the whole day, you relive those type of things, and anybody that's lost a mother at a young age can relate to.
Yes. Did it happen in the home?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Were you present in the home at that time?
I was at school. They came and picked me up at school. It was about 2:30.
When you say they, was that family or the police?
The police.
How did they explain it to you?
They really didn't explain a whole lot. I just remembered, I remember me arguing with the fact that I wasn't going to leave, that it was my day to beat the erasers for the teacher. So it was one of those things. You've got that beautiful teacher, and I just wasn't going to leave. And she promised me everything would be all right, and I'd get to do it the next time. And it kind of went from there.
Wow. So, did they take you home, or did they take you to family members? What happened with you at that young age?
They actually took me to family members directly after. It was a little bit of a struggle. My brother was with me in the back of the car, and heck, he about tried to jump out of the car. We knew something was bad, and it was one of those, what's wrong with our mom? We knew that there was something bad, and ended up being the worst ever, ended up being shot and killed. So,
was your brother older than you or younger?
1 year older than me.
So not a lot of difference in the maturity level.
No, there wasn't. No.
So it had to be a lot of questions and fears and doubts and anger, and I can't imagine what all it was.
Yeah, it was all the above. I mean, when you have somebody taken from you, that's all you've got. You've got your brothers and your sisters and your mom. That's all we had. It'd just rip you apart.
Were your mom and dad together at that time?
No, it was my stepfather.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
You did say it was your stepfather.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he finally charged with all of this, and what were the consequences for him?
Sure. Yeah. He was, he basically called the police right after it was over. She was divorced, from him, and was getting remarried, and basically told him that, she was getting remarried. And in the statements, of course, I wasn't there when these statements were being made, but I've read them many times. said that, you're not going to get remarried. I'll kill you first. And she said, well, you'll have to kill me because I'm getting remarried. He went outside, got a shotgun, and come in and took her life.
Wow, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I can't say I know what you felt, but losing a loved one that age and in that way, how has that worked on your life?
Well, I mean, it's a life-changing event, of course. I had a chip on my shoulder, well, the rest of my life. I still have that chip that I'm trying to buff off my shoulder. My father, was there as much as he could be for me, and my stepdad is the one that took her life. And so it was all it was a whirlwind of emotions and issues and tragedies, and it was hard for me to when you hear of somebody hitting a woman and stuff like that. When I started getting older, I just simply wouldn't let that happen. You're not going to disrespect a lady. I've been brought up that way my whole life because of my mother.
Sure.
Being taken. So
how does that chip on your shoulder manifest itself?
Well, when you're out doing your thing, when you're young, having fun or trying to have fun, and going out and doing whatever, and you see somebody that basically, and you see it a lot. I mean, there's a lot of abusive men out there, and I just simply wouldn't let that happen. Unfortunately, back then I didn't have the reserve I do now, but I would handle my business like that. I would make sure that he wasn't touching her again. And just a simple fact that, my mother was taken, and I can't stand bullies, and I dislike anybody that touches a woman. I mean, it's just part of my life now.
That's not the worst attitude you can have. Okay. I get some of that. So let's move on a few years after that. Tell us about the Kevin of his high school days. Just how life was lived. Yeah.
I, lived with my dad until 6th grade. When it was over, my grandmother actually had me move in with her. And I went to Pendleton and wrestled, and I remember my grandma she took the place of my mom the best she could. It was an incredible, several years that we had together, and she was my mother at that point in time. She was the closest thing that I'd ever had, and she never missed a wrestling match. Anything I needed, whatever I needed, she was there. She was my hero.
That was a safe place, a place of comfort.
Yeah, that was the one that made me the man I am today.
Okay. So let's move on in your life from those high school days to the next stages. Tell us about Kevin.
Well, you try to put your nose forward and keep going, and try to make all the best decisions that you can. Just try to not think so much about the man that took your mom. Think more about what you can do to help people. That's what I started to do back then, is try to help as many as I can. The bullies, I hated the bullies, and anybody that touched a woman, like I said earlier. And I don't know, I just started putting my nose forward. I had my son, Kevin Joe, and he was my inspiration. And it was the limelight of my life right there. So you became I'm going to say a protector of many. You were watching for those who were being abused in any way, shape, or form, and you wanted to be there to help them through that, whatever that meant at that moment, correct? That's exactly right.
Yeah, okay. Then you had your son. How long ago was that? When was your son born?
He was born in 93.
In 93. Okay. Lead us through those early years of his life, please, and you as a father to him, because
Sure.
You made it clear what a bright light he was to you.
He was incredible, man. He's the one that made me smile. When you lose somebody that's real, your important part of your life, you try to grab onto things and try to remember those, the items that you want to keep forever. And he's the one that that kept me going. He's the one that made me smile. He was my world.
What were his habits, his style? What was it that connected you guys so?
His everything, his smile, when he sees me, his eyes, he loved his dad, and he made me smile. And that was one of the things I think he loved to wrestle. That kid, I don't know where it came from, but I loved to wrestle too. I went through my whole high school wrestling, and he really enjoyed sneaking up behind me, trying to get the rear naked choke. And, it was just an incredible thing. I'd sneak up there and tickle him for 20 minutes until he was almost ready to cry. I just remember, and then I'd walk away, and he just does the little things, the I love you dads when you walk in, the hugs, he's just very emotional with me. And, I've always tried to do that with my kids, man, is, you show your emotions, you tell your father and your mother you love them, and they've done that, so many times. And we don't hang up a phone without an I love you. We don't hang up, we don't walk away without a hug and I love you. It's just something you don't do.
Well, when you went through that loss of your mom, you realized how precious life was and how short it could be, and how the next moment may not be the moment you want to experience.
Well, that's the whole thing. You said it perfectly correct. When you wake up the next day, it's a new day. You was able to make it one more day, and you don't think it's going to be like that until you have a tragedy in your life. You just don't. You just think it's an everyday, it's no big deal, run your life how you want to run it. But when you have somebody that's close to you that's taken from you for any reason, whether it's drugs or, or a gun, or unfortunately suicide, which is happening so often right now over the bullies and all these type of things, that you don't think anything like that can happen to your family.
Yeah.
Until it does.
Until it does. Then it happened again, right? Another tragedy that rocked your world.
There was, throughout tragedies, my father passed in 2000, which is huge to me. My brother passed in 97.
Was that an expected death, your brother?
He got in a car wreck.
Yeah.
Got in a car wreck, took his life, and he was my anchor. At the time, he was my only person that I would look up to, and he was one I would always protect, and just know that he was always going to be there for me. Me and him experienced all this with the mother being taken, and you want to make sure that he's always there with you. And unfortunately, he lost his life in 97.
Okay. You made it clear the way you lost your mom, and it was in a very tragic way. But I'm thinking of the idea then to lose your brother. That's not right at that age in our minds, is it?
Well, he's what went through. He's the only one that understood.
Wow.
What I went through, and that's what you have to. When you have so many people that are committing suicide, or so many people that are making these bad decisions, in order for them to find change, they don't want to go talk to a shrink, so to speak. They don't want to talk to anybody because they've not had anybody else experience what they are experiencing. Well, with me, I've experienced so much loss that I get about 200 messages a day where people are on the fence. And it's easy for me to talk to them because they know I've been there.
They trust you.
They trust me. So we need to find more people that can get out there and actually relate to some of these kids, and that's what is so important right now.
It's not easy to make ourselves vulnerable because every time you share with someone, you go through your pain again. You can answer this for us, but I lost my mother in a tragic way. It was a suicide. And there are triggers that set that off to this day. And that was nearly 50 years ago. And I still have that pain is lived all over again for a moment. It doesn't consume me, but it's certainly not gone. What about you?
Well, it's the same. It'll never be gone. When you lose your mother, when you lose a brother, your kids, you'll have that tragedy throughout the rest of your life. There's no doubt about it. It never goes away. It's always there. Now, some of them, like my father, when he passed with a heart attack, it doesn't make it any better or any worse. He's always gone. But with my son, it was so much more. It just crushed me, but of course, every loss is huge.
Tell us the story of the loss of your son, please.
My son, my shining hero, man. He had the best smile in the world. I mean, he literally had the best smile in the world. He should have been in some denture place or something, some commercial, for
on a billboard.
He
right?
should have been. Yeah, he was an incredible young man, 17 years old, and unfortunately, there was somebody that wanted something more than he was willing to give up. He simply wasn't going to give it up. He unfortunately had marijuana on him, and they wanted it more than he was willing to give him. He was not going to give it to him, and he went to take off, and they pulled the trigger over a $20 bag of marijuana.
He was killed. He was shot over a $20 bag of marijuana.
That's right.
Wow. How long had he been fighting the battle with drugs? Do you know?
He didn't. I mean, and everybody's got their what's right and what's wrong. I mean, marijuana is illegal no matter how you look at it. But that's the only thing he ever done was smoke marijuana. And I'm not saying it's right, and I'm definitely not saying that it.
We
I
understand
condone it, but it's not like the heroin and the things of that nature. Those are killers. Those are just absolute killers. And I don't want anybody to be on drugs. And I begged and begged and begged for him not to do these things. And at 17 years old, your kids think they know it all. They think they've got the world by
everything they need to have it by.
And so it's one of those things where you just try your hardest as an adult and as a father on what you can do to keep that from happening. But unfortunately, he was at the wrong spot at the wrong time, and there was somebody that decided they was taking it, period. And that's what they did. And they're charged with murder and charged with they're also charged with armed robbery. So.
Was he living with you at that time, or was he out on his own?
No, he was living, he was in between his mom and out on his own.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in Texas working at the time when this happened. I was actually home at the moment it happened, because it was, of course, getting real close to, it was right after Christmas. And so, I mean, he, yeah, it was hard for me to go through that with him.
This was Christmas of 2021, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're there in Texas. That's where you were when you got the call, kind of thing, or were you still at home?
No, I was at home. I was actually at home in Alexandria. Yeah, I work in Texas a lot, and I got home and for Christmas, and I got the phone call and from his girlfriend. She called me right after the shot.
Okay. So I'm gonna guess, knowing the way that our system works, sometimes this is still in proceedings as far as any court hearings to speak of or anything. Yes.
Yeah, it's going a lot faster than what I actually thought. They're doing a great job.
Good.
We actually have next month, the 14th, is the actual trial date.
Okay.
So it went a lot faster than what a lot of people thought it would go, because you have people out there that's going through the same thing I'm going through that's 3 years old, and they're still awaiting some kind of a trial, and they're still on hold. So, I'm just praying to Jesus that we keep doing what we're doing, shed some light on some stories, and try to keep some kids from shooting somebody. That's the whole thing. We've got to get these, the guns away from these young kids. They're just not, they don't have the ability yet to say no to pulling the trigger. They get a little mad. Next thing you know, they're telling themselves, I just effed up. I just made a mistake. And I know these kids do. They after they pull the trigger, I know they're thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that.
I hope that's their thoughts.
I do too.
Yeah, that they're not so callous that it was just an easy moment for them. It's certainly not for you or other family members, survivors, or friends, those who knew your son ending, to go through all of that. So again, can't imagine what that's about.
Yeah.
So that was a year ago. There were additional additional losses since then, and one was pretty recent. Go ahead and tell us about your other son. Bring us, share with us what he was like. You told us end in style and all. Was this Kevin Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about Kevin Joe as a young person.
Well, that's who we was talking about earlier, about Kevin Joe.
Yeah. With the smile and all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that was Andon with the smile. But
all right.
Yeah,
all right.
We talked a little bit about Kevin, but
yeah,
he, he was a great kid, man. I love him so very much that, it's hard to even imagine that both of them are gone. And he made a mistake, and he was clean for several months and doing really well. And unfortunately, it was the battle beat him. He wanted to do it one more time, and unfortunately the dealer gave him fentanyl, and it took his life.
That wasn't long ago, was it?
No, it was not. It was December 22nd, 21.
So that was just almost 2 months ago now. Yeah, which is a blink of the eye, especially in a loss of that nature.
Yeah.
How has that worked on you? I can't imagine. I don't know if you can even express it. And please take this properly. I'm not sure you even know, because you're still almost in a state of shock, I'm going to guess. It's real. That's not it. But the pain, how could it be again? Share that with us.
Well, when you're coming off from losing your, one son, not even a year ago, and you think you're, starting to make some improvements in your life and trying to make things, happen with Anna's blessings and trying to help people and, just trying to do things right and trying to get on God's right side. I've always been a God-fearing man. And, when this happened with my son, it was huge, because I brought my, Kimber, which is my daughter. She lives in Texas. So when I brought her, back with me for Christmas, that he was supposed to go swimming with us. I decided to go get a hotel room to go swimming for the family, just to go swimming and relax for a couple days. And he begged me hey, Dad, won't you guys just go swimming? And I'll come out tomorrow, and we'll have a blast. I love you, Dad. And I said, all right, son. And that's the unfortunate thing is he passed that very day, that very night, about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't able to see him for the next day.
You've already mentioned it. You made it clear that fentanyl was involved, and there's not anything much more deadly than fentanyl, carfentanil, etc. Everything that they're using to lace in drugs. You never know when the next time's the last time. But as you shared there, I know you said that he had been clean for some time and went back to it the one time. I just want the folks out there to understand that during that clean time, your tolerance level lowers to such a point you can use half as much of the drug as what you used to do, even without the fentanyl, and you're risking an overdose because the body just has changed. It's kind of, teased itself to believing it's okay when you're not there yet. And it can take you out in a hurry. It's a horrible thing. I've always been one that believes there's no such thing as experimenting with drugs. It's too easily one and done. So, Kevin's passing just a couple of months ago. Where are you with that right now in your life?
Well, it's still too fresh to even to think about it. We started a little group for him called KCC. It's Kevin's Comfort Corner. I struggle with this because now I've lost 2 sons in a year, and you don't think you'll ever lose one son, let alone having both of them impact your life like it did me. when everything was okay one day, and the next night, you wake up early in the morning and you find out you lose your second hero. It's an impact that, you just can't get over. I'll never get over it. I cry. I don't know how many times in the middle of Walmart, I was going to get some food and I had to stop and act like I was looking at some cereal or something because I was just losing it, just sitting there crying, so I just put my face against the cereal box and tried to get it together.
Yeah. There's no way to know when that wave's going to hit. As you've already alluded to, you losing your first son there, and in just, a little over a year ago, you've not had time to mourn his death properly, to even begin to think of mourning the death of a second son. I think a tragic death, and this does not diminish anyone's loss, but I believe a tragic death's harder to deal with. And being your two sons, I hope, the world will pardon this expression, it's the wrong order. We don't expect that. Moms and dads, not out of tragedy like you faced, but we know it's going to be, and with us. But to lose your son before you go, that's difficult. So here you are just a couple months out from that second loss. What is it that you'd like to say to folks out there who may be suffering their own losses of a child through overdose, through murder, through whatever the case may be, Kevin?
Yeah, anybody with the loss of a child, it doesn't matter if it's an accident. It doesn't matter if it was drug related, or I think it impacts a little bit more when they're stolen from you, when somebody shoots them or somebody, something of that nature. I think it'll impact them a little bit harder, but no matter how you lose your children, it's just going to be so important to reach out to somebody that's been through it. Michelle Raines is one that I reached out to a lot. She had her son stolen from her when he was really young, shot at 17 times, but she reached out through Andon's Blessings, and we ended up talking, and we still talk so much. And she gets me through those valleys. She gets me through when I'm really down and I can't function right. She was always, somehow or another, she would call me when I was at that point. I don't even know how she would know it, but she would just say, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you I'm here for you." And she made it through. She helped me make it through. She helped me on those low points with Andon when you have somebody that shoots your boy. You have so many lows. You have so many why couldn't I's. You have so many I should have took the bullet. You have so many, how did it happen? And it's good to have somebody, and almost a necessity to have somebody that's been through that. And with Andon's Blessings, there's so many people in there that's lost those exact same thing. They've lost their child to so many different reasons, and it gives you a place to go talk a little bit about it.
Go ahead and tell us about Andon's Blessings. I know that's had to be therapeutic for you to be able to turn some of the hurt of the heart into some gain. Tell us about Andon's Blessings. Explain to the folks what it is.
Sure. Andon's Blessings was started. I remember I was sitting on the couch, and it always comes from my right shoulder. I can't really explain it, but it just popped in my head. And I said, "What does that mean? Andon's Blessings." I sat there and contemplated it for a few minutes. And
so those two words just came to mind and heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't but just a few minutes after that, I said, okay. And I just opened up my Facebook and decided to start the little group that I thought was going to be this little, 1 or 2 or 10, 15 people that would let me vent. And that's what I started doing. I opened it up and I started venting and telling everybody how I felt and how I wanted to start helping people. And that's what we started doing. We started, with, 10 people, then 20. And then I was amazed that like a couple weeks, it was 500. And I guess what made me do what I do now is help as many people as I do is because of Andon's Blessings. It was able to get me through the rest of those valleys that I was not going to make it through. I was in a very, very dark place.
So with Andon's Blessings, you can tell us a little more about it. Is it a support kind of thing between folks? How does that play out?
Sure. It's more of a, it started out with the support thing. And just for the simple fact that, I was very raw, very angered, very upset that my son was stolen from me. And, I would write pages, I would just sit there and just cry and write pages. And so many people started reading them and then following along and being a support person for me, Mia Kimberling is one of them, and she done incredible things on keeping my lows, more leveled out, and finding people that'll help support you on your lowest point. That's when it's very important, because when you're at that lowest point, there's some very bad decisions that you can make, and it's good to have people and find people that's been through it. She lost a family member to suicide, and she was able to relate. And we actually met at Anna's Blessings, so that was something that helped me a lot as well.
I keep hearing you use the word relate. How important that is. Somebody who knows. You don't have to tell them everything. They get it.
Well, how many times can people, say, hey, he needs therapy? And how many of those people actually will go to therapy? Very few. I never would. I refuse to. Just for the simple fact that, why would I go to therapy? That lady has no clue about, she's not lost her mother. Her mother wasn't shot, taken from her. How's she going to know how I feel? A lot of people feel that way. Whether or not you go to get help or whether you don't, which I really suggest that you do.
Yes.
But it's just as therapeutical to find somebody like I did with Anna's Blessings and start finding people that's got the same valleys as you do, that's going through the things that you are. And that's one of the things that helped me so much.
You were willing to open yourself up to somebody coming in and being able to offer you the support and help you needed. And you alluded to something a few moments ago. In those dark times, you get some thoughts that you're not happy about having. And I'm sure that's been a part of the battle. Anna's Blessing has helped keep you above those bad choices.
It really was. It was there was a lot of factors to it. Levi Kruzmeyer, he lost his son to an ATV accident. So there again, he's just like me. He cries every day. He looks at his son. He's got a throne. He's got so many pictures. He will not ever let that go. Ever. He's just like I am. We related a lot. We was able to feel. I know what Levi feels like. I know his highs. I know his lows. He done it 3 years in front of me. So he told me, you're going to have this happen. And he kind of led me down the road on, it's going to take you a while. It's going to take this. But he was always every day calling me every day. Every day. I'm getting ready to go to bed. Have you ate? Man, I'm not really hungry. He'd bring over something to eat. I said, Levi, you got to quit this. I don't need you to be bringing me food. He goes, well, I'm here. I know what you're going through, and I know you won't eat for 3 or 4 days. I didn't eat sometimes for 2 or 3 days, didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days. And, I was going through some, traumatic things with my boys. It's hard to relate to anybody, but when you have somebody that's actually been there, done that, as minute as that sounds, because it doesn't really sound been there, done that. But when you lose somebody that important to you, finding somebody else that's lost one is very important in your recovery.
And that has obviously worked for you. Here at Faith in Your Recovery, we like to think we're about all things recovery. And recovery is not just getting clean or sober from a drug or alcohol, but it's moving into a fuller life. And it's going to take you a while to get there. But the important thing is right now you're working at it. You're not letting that pile build up under the rug so tall that you can't step over it. You're going about it moment by moment, it sounds like.
It absolutely is moment by moment. You could be on an okay day and just within just a couple memories, I can't listen to the radio. I can't listen to country. I can't listen to anything anymore because, it just brings up my boy. At the time it was bringing up Andon. Everything was bringing him up. So I quit watching TV. I quit listening to the radios. I didn't do any of that. I quit socializing. I was going into a very bad spot in my life, and I don't think I'll ever get over it, ever. But with Andon's blessings, we started that to start helping people. I said, man, I'll feel better. Let's start something up, and let's see if we can't start helping these people that are down by the river. These people that are homeless. Let's figure out how we can start getting them some clothes. So that's what we started doing. We started in the beginning stages. I was just paying people to go pick up clothes. Then we had 4 or 5 people washing clothes, folding them, stacking them. How many do we have? After a month of that, I figured out that it would be too hard to continue that and be able to live a life.
Yes.
Because that's all I would do.
Consuming.
It was consuming. So we started where we was doing porch pickups, and now we help. Oh my gosh, we have 95,000 people visited our little site the last 28 days. And we have so many people in there. Deborah making sure that Ryan Bolt, she makes sure that everybody understands the rules. She is the police officer of the group.
Go ahead, Kevin. Tell the folks how they can get to that group should they want to check in and see what's going on and know more about your effort.
Well, andonsblessings.com. Go straight to the Facebook page. So you can get on there and become a member, which we want to. We want to see you guys, everybody, become a member. In order to have a voice, you have to have a lot of people together. When you have 10 people, it's not much of a voice. But when you start hitting, thousands of people, everybody will start listening. So we're up to, we're not huge. We've only got 7,200 people in our group. But we'll have 10,000 by the end of this year, maybe even more, and we're going to continue to voice what we think and ask Jesus to point us in the right directions. We're going to keep donating things and keep going forward.
Well, I'll tell you what, 7,200 is nothing to to ignore. That's a good place to be, and as you say, you're going to move forward from there. So back to Kevin, you've talked a lot here about Andon's blessing. It seems like you used some initials to cover what you're doing in his name. Is that right? Was it like KCC or something?
It is. It's called KCC. I mean, it's Kevin's Comfort Corner.
Yes.
And we do KCC just to shorten it up because it is a long name.
You bet.
You can get on his group the same way, kevinscomfortcorner.com, or you can look it up on the Facebook. I think the first month we had 1,100 people join, 20,000 people actually visited the site the first 28 days. It jumped up there a little quicker than Andon's Blessings. It's a group that it's more of a help group. We get a lot more talk in there. We get a lot more people saying, hey, I lost my son the same way, or my son got taken from suicide. And, you have a lot more feelings in this group. And it's in a more of an emotional group. We decided to start giving away KCC blankets, which is hand crocheted blankets. And we wanted to do the orange for the shooting if you got a son or somebody got shot from gun violence. So, and we would make those and they'd crochet them out of orange. Purple, of course, if you overdose. And then if you suicide, they're purple and teal. So we decided to do that, and we got our first blankets out, and they're coming out great. They're coming out awesome. We're going to continue that. On having something that they'll be able to actually hold on to, throw over their shoulder and know what it was there for. Somebody that donated their time to make a 3.5 by 5 blanket. I buy the yarn. If anybody wanted to donate a little yarn, that's fine, but I don't. It's on me. I make sure that all these ladies have yarn, And they sit there and crochet and make blankets for individuals to let them know that we're thinking about them.
So how do you get those blankets out? How do you disperse them? Who are they for? Anybody who's been through that similar, or family members, or just anybody and everybody?
Well, when you're on KCC and you'll start reading things and you'll be like, hey, I lost my mother to let's just say gun violence. I would love to have a blanket. And there's a form that you can fill out, and it just goes on a list. And we're just now I think we're up to about 50 crocheters now. And they're just all, they're just now starting to go, so we're just now starting to get them done. Kimmy Sandiford does these bears. They're incredible little bears that she hand crochets. And she made me one, and she's making some for the rest of the family members and stuff. We trying not to bring that into KCC because it just takes so long to do the bears. It takes her about 4 days to do a bear.
Wow, yeah.
And so we're trying to get. She's doing blankets now, but she really likes the bears. But letting her know that we don't have time for her to do one bear a week.
Exactly.
You do 4 blankets. So
it seems like you work with a pretty powerful team here, folks that care about people who are hurting and have had their struggles.
Absolutely. I can't even, when all this happened with my mother when I was young, I bottled up. I think that's one of the things that I try to keep from happening now, because I know how I can help people by relating, by letting them know that I've been there, and they'll open up when they know somebody else has been there.
Yes.
And KCC's a lot. There's just so many people that's actually opening up, and they'll tell you, look, I ain't talked about this in 7 years. And they'll tell the story, and I'll sit there and cry with them. We just do. And it actually helps a little bit to open up. But with me, because every time you read a story, it opens up, Andon getting shot.
Sure.
Because of their questions. So it's reliving it and reliving it and reliving it. So it's very difficult for me sometimes to have to relive it 10 times a day, because I try to answer and talk. I might sleep 3 hours a night. And I sit there probably from, about 8 o'clock in the evening till usually about 4 in the morning, just relating, talking to people and trying to catch up, and it's just been an amazing thing for me, because I wouldn't think by looking back that it would help to continuously talk about the same thing to a different person, but it's helped me.
It just helps to empty that well of hurt. You're not going to find the bottom. You've made that clear, and I get that, but you're getting closer to it in the sense of being able to handle it in the absolute best of ways that you know how to do at that given time.
I think what is actually helping me on it is the person that's reaching out to me is trusting me and letting me talk to them, and them bringing up their story and helping them, and them saying thank you, them saying you are amazing. I want to be like you. I want to be able to talk to people. So I've decided to start a magazine, and it's called Andon's Blessings. And we've started that where, it's all about gun violence, drug addiction, and suicides. And it has actual stories of what people have done after the suicide and how they've reached out to the community to help the community. And we have some just amazing stories that are going to be coming out. And we've pushed it back probably another month, but it'll be about a 200-page magazine. It's just going to be full of people that are just here to help.
I'd love to get my hands on one of those when the day comes. I hope you let me know. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would welcome that. So we've heard the pain, the loss, which for you to be here to share it tells me what kind of man you are. Thank you for that. This is raw. I can see the strain in your face, but I can tell by the willingness of your heart, you're willing to go through that, so maybe somebody else won't have to go through all of it.
That's what the main thing's all about, is just try to get people to, use, how I've always kind of said is you're on the edge, you're just ready to jump off.
Yeah.
I want to be able to just talk to, I just need just a second with them. And when they see that I've lost 10 times more than them, they can see there's a way.
If you
There's
can
an
make
avenue.
it, they can.
Exactly. So when you're able to kind of relate and let them know what you've lost, they stop and think, wow, okay, there's an avenue. Whether they take the avenue or not, you pray that they're going to make some good decisions. But, when you call the next day, there's been so many of them. They call me Papa Dukes. I don't know where that came from, but that's what they call me, this group of kids. And they message me throughout the night, and they're like, hey, this guy here, he's not carrying a gun anymore. He's not doing drugs anymore, and then changed his life. I just wanted to reach out and tell you that happens all the time, and it's changed so many lives.
You'd stay awake all night to get that call, not knowing when it was coming, wouldn't you?
My phone is never on silent at night, ever.
That is just, that's what it takes, that little bit of encouragement, that recognition that we are making a difference. And I believe we all can. So, Kevin, as a reminder, our podcast is Faith in Your Recovery. What does that mean to you, faith in your recovery?
Well, just having the strength to recover, believing in Jesus and believing that you're going to make it is my strength. When you, there's a lot of things. I mean, I'm so proud that, Jesus gave me the ability not to have the want to do the drugs. I don't have that. I've never felt that. So I always questioned my son, son, you can quit. You can quit. I've never felt like him because I've never had that gene that Jesus kept me from having. So I've been lucky.
You talked about how you need people that can relate to each other. Mm-hmm. You couldn't relate to that because that just wasn't a battle you fought.
I've never fought the battle. I've always been there with him. I was one that, unfortunately, maybe I made a lot of mistakes, but whenever he needed something, I don't care what it was, what time it was, I was always there. And I just never gave up. I knew he was going to get quit. I would quit eventually. I knew he was going to do it. I just had faith. And, you always question yourself on whether or not you made the right decision to always be there financially, to always be there, make sure he's got a roof, and paid his rent, paid his bills. It doesn't matter. You just wanted him better. And I never, ever gave up. And, you kind of wonder sometimes if you made the right decision by, being an enabler, which is something that
it's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
And all the woulda, coulda, shouldas are not going to change anything now.
It's not now.
It hurts. And, you think maybe if I'd have done this, well, I love the struggler, but I know they do make choices that I'm not going to make for them, or I can't make for them, regardless of how close I may be to them or with them. I've got a pretty difficult question for you here, and if you choose not to answer it, I respect that totally. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Andon for one moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the next few seconds with him, what would you want to say?
I don't even know if I could say a word. I think if I would just hold him, just give him a hug, just sit right there with a hug. Just let him know how much I love him. We always hugged each other. Always hugged each other.
A hug and getting to see the smile.
Just letting him know I love him.
Wow. That says more than the words, okay? Let's go the same thing with Kevin Joe.
I think the only thing that I would try to do with him is talk to him about his addiction, because we talked every day about it. Every day we done a lot of communication, and I was so happy I remember I went back through some of his texts with Andon. I haven't been able to go through a whole lot of his texts for some reason. I cry too much to go through it. I just can't do it. But something kept telling me to go through his text, So I went through and seen a little thing where you hit play and it has a recording instead of text.
Yes.
And I'd missed it. I'd never seen it. I'd never heard it. And it explained how great of a father I was, which, you always question that when this happens, but it said how great of a father you are and how much I love you, the good, bad, the ugly, whatever. So you was the best father, and you've made me want to be the father like you are. I want to be just like you. And I played that thing every day, that little 30-second clip that I needed so bad right then, because I was in a very deep valley losing my boy. I needed that clip.
I'm going to guess I couldn't buy that from you.
I would love for you to play it. I'd absolutely love to. Yeah. Yeah. He's incredible. My son, it's called a video text. I would love for you to listen to it. And this is something I found when I was at one of my very deepest valleys. I was having so big of a struggle, and he just kept saying, go back to my text. And this is what I'd found, and I haven't heard it before. And this is something that's very special to me.
I'm grateful for having a dad like you, and follow in the footsteps so I can grow up and be a dad just like you. And thank you for everything, no matter the good and bad. I love you, Dad.
Wow, Kevin, that's gotta be a forever piece of gold for you.
Oh, it certainly is. It's my son being raw, telling me that he loves me. Something I needed at that point, really, really bad.
And you're going to need it in the days ahead, and I just hope piece by piece that helps bring about some of the healing. I don't always believe in the word closure, nor should we always seek closure, because that's who we are, that's where we've been, and that's going to help you through the days ahead. And I can't imagine the other people that will help as well.
I just pray that anybody going through these horrible things, that actually there's so many of them that are going through this right now, can reach out to KCC or to Anna's Blessings, either one, and just try to find that one person that you can relate to, and that one person that can help you through your valleys. That's all you need. You when you're doing a little bit better, just having somebody once a day that you can talk to, and you instantly, with me and Michelle, I mean, I love her. I love that woman. She helped me tremendously through my lows, and I'll always care about her. I know what she went through when her son got shot. I feel her every day. I hear it in her voice every day. And to find somebody like that is so important. She found one that was in Kansas that reached out to her, and she actually goes down there and drives to Kansas multiple times a year just for they have their time. Yeah. And that was her person that she was able to connect to, that she never would have been able to get over some of the things she is without that help that she had. Going to a therapist, sometimes, and it can help people. Don't get me wrong. And I pray everybody that needs it can go there and get that kind of help. But to find somebody that's on your level, you're able to open up, you're able to talk, you're able to get it off your chest, you're able to understand that they have the exact same pain that you do. So it's easier to relate.
I think it's important, as I hear you speak there, you talk about finding someone. Maybe we need to be that someone more often. Share our story. Let folks know our struggles. Let them know we're available. Let them know we'll be there. Take that meal over like your friend said. Make that phone call. It's okay to let people know we care, we love them, because that struggle isn't something that is easily, we don't find easy healing from that. So to be able to open our hearts to touch another one, I have been convinced my entire life we are blessed to be a blessing. In my life, I've spent spend it in the realm of service to others, and I wouldn't want anything different than that. And for you to be here with us today and to share at this level, I want to give you the opportunity. Is there a last comment you'd like to make of any type, Kevin?
Well, I think we've touched so much that it's hard to even go back and think what I've missed. But
sure,
I know that Little Miracles is another group that's identical to me. That's just an incredible group that's helped me a bunch as well. Is Jerry and his wife. They're just incredible people. There's so many people that actually opened up these little help centers, is what you almost want to call them. But they open up an Andon's Blessings. Like we have one that's going to be opening up in Indianapolis. We got about 500 or 600 people in Indianapolis. So it's Andon's Blessings / Indianapolis. So you can find somebody in Indianapolis if you need something. We have one getting started in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to continue to do what we do. We're going to try to give, so many opportunities that was hard to find in our past, but we're going to start finding them for these people. We're going to start helping these people, and we're going to try to get everybody to understand that, drugs are something that we have to talk to our kids about. Guns is something we have to talk to our children about. And I'm not the guy that, wants to, take any guns. That's not, even though my son got shot, my mother got shot. If anybody wants to see guns gone, you would think it would be me, and it's not. I'm a Second Amendment man. I think everybody should have a gun that is legal to carry. But when you're 13 years old, you don't have the ability to carry, and you shouldn't have the ability. You shouldn't even have the want at 13 years old. But if we start talking to our children and trying to get them to understand, you cannot run around with the child that's doing that. We have to start opening up doors and try to get our children, away from the drugs and the guns and help them when they're getting bullied, because, suicide is so huge. And Skip Ackerman and his wife, Diane, has just doing incredible things with that as well. And that's something that we're really stepping up for. Suicide is a huge factor in our kids' lives. We have to be able to help.
Kevin, I don't even know how to say thank you other than thank you. What you've shared here, I know, is going to have an impact in many lives. What you're doing for the sake of others has already impacted many lives, and in many ways, it's just beginning. We pray and hope the best for your healing, your recovery, for the work of Kevin's Comfort Closet?
Kevin's Comfort Corner.
Kevin's Comfort Corner, as well as Andon's Blessings. Folks, we gave you information earlier. Tell them one more time, Kevin, how they can make those contacts.
There's another way that you can do it on an email. That's andonsblessings@yahoo.com. That's also the channel if you have something that you would like to be able to get in my magazine, something that you've done to help the community because of your loss, how you're making changes, and would like to share your pictures of your lost one, your hero. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to have you in our magazine, and we don't charge for it. I take care of all that. There's no charge to get your story out there. If you want to have a story out there and have your children or your child in the magazine, we'd love to have you. So you can reach out to us that way as well, or also andonsblessings.com or kevinscomfortcorner.com. They go directly to the Facebook page.
Kevin, we thank you. This has been a powerful time together, and I know that folks are going to appreciate this. And I know it couldn't be easy, but it shows me the kind of man you are from the inside out. And it's more appreciated than you'll know, and you'll never know the number of lives that it touches or the number of lives it'll change. So, folks, take it to heart. Hear this again. Listen, you can just start this podcast up a second time. There's a lot to consume, a lot to grasp, but it's important. We want to see a difference happen. Maybe we're the ones that are going to have to make it happen by offering ourselves, by offering our story, by drawing close by supporting one another and having faith in their recovery as well as faith in your recovery. God bless.
God bless.